At that time, as now, a large portion of the world was in wilderness of thought, and they did not go back of it to get the deeper meaning. They accepted what they saw or heard or what appeared on the surface, recorded it, and your history began. It is quite difficult to correlate the two, and I would not attempt to say that you must take ours as authentic. I would suggest that you choose for yourselves." End quote. The moon then appeared over the far-off mountains. We sat and watched it round and full until it rose nearly overhead. It was a beautiful sight, with an occasional light cloud passing by at an elevation just above us. When these clouds went drifting by, it seemed as if the moon and clouds were standing still, and we were drifting past them. This went on for an hour, when suddenly there was a noise as of some object thrown to the roof behind us. We started to our feet and looked around. There stood a middle-aged lady, smiling and asking if she had startled us. Our first impression was that she had jumped from the parapet to the roof, but she had only stamped her foot to attract our attention. The stillness had been so intense we had greatly magnified the sound. Emil stepped forth quickly, greeted her, and introduced us to his sister. She smiled and asked whether she had intruded on our dreams. We then sat down, and in a short time the conversation drifted into reminiscences of her experiences. She has 3 sons and a daughter that had been raised in the work. She replied that the youngest 2 were always with her. We asked if we might see them. She replied that they could come there that evening, and immediately 2 figures, a man and a woman, appeared. They greeted their uncle and their mother, then came forward and were introduced to the 3 of us. The son was a tall, erect, manly fellow, whom we took to be about 30 years of age. The daughter was not tall, rather slight, with fine features. She was a fine, well-poised girl, whom we judged about 20 years of age. Afterwards, we found that the son was 115, and the daughter was 128 years old. They were all to be present at the meeting the next day, and soon went below. After they had retired, we passed complimentary remarks about the son and daughter. The mother turned to us and said, "Every child born is good and perfect. There are no bad children. It does not matter whether they are conceived in the perfect or immaculate, or through the sense or material way. The one conceived in the perfect way will soon recognize his sonship with the Father, that he is the Christ or Son of God. Then he will develop and unfold quickly, and he will see only perfection. The one conceived through the sense way may also immediately recognize his sonship, perceive that Christ in him, and may realize his perfection by idealizing the Christ. He gazes upon that ideal, loves and cherishes it until he manifests or brings forth that which he gazes upon, the Christ. He is reborn and is perfect. He has brought forth perfection from within himself, that perfection which was always there. The one held to the ideal and was perfect. The other perceived the ideal and unfolded that ideal and regained perfection. Thus, no child is bad. All are good and from God. Here one of the party suggested that it was bedtime, as it was past 12 o'clock.